Let's take a look at the integration with SCIM between BeyondTrust Password Safe and Sailpoint Identity IQ. I'm logged into Beyond Insight and I have access to my password safe resources. I'm also logged in at the same time to my Identity IQ system as an admin. So let's take a look at briefly the setup that we have. In this environment, we have an Active Directory environment. We have a number of users that are in here. We've also got set up as part of our BeyondTrust password safe access management. We've set up some security groups that we manage that access through. And you'll see that in some of these, I've named them BT so that they're simple to locate and search on for this demo. And you can see that we have, for each of these access groups, we have some users in here. So let's take a look at password safe. We'll go in and take a look at the role-based access that we have set up already. We'll look at users and groups. And in fact, you can see that we have mapped in a number of these Active Directory groups. In fact, the Linux admin that we just took a look at, we should see Linda in there as well. And we also have a couple of local groups here where we have a mixture of both local users, local to Beyond Insight, and Active Directory, the ones with the yellow icon here, those are mapped in. Those are Active Directory users mapped into local access groups. This is where we set the permissions within Password Safe for what kinds of operations that these users can do and what resources they have access to request the password or a session to. In Identity IQ, we have an identity warehouse and an integration. If we take a look at the applications, you'll see that, as is typical, you will already have an AD application set up and bringing in from this domain. If we look under identities, we have a number of these users, Active Directory users, already imported into the Identity Cube in Sailpoint. So let's look briefly at what we have for a setup. In Beyond Insight, we can set up the connector. We've established our Sailpoint connector, or our SCIM connector rather, and in Identity IQ, we've set up a corresponding application. Now, we have a few other things completed in this configuration. We have tasks that are created for aggregation, and many of those are already built into the Sailpoint distribution, and we've also set up some that are specific to BeyondTrust Password Safe. Now, we can do a few things with this. This is going to allow us to pull over not only the accounts and the groups, but also look at the entitlements and the effective access and the target resources that they have access to. So let's take a look at some of those. Let's go to the Identity Warehouse, and just recently we saw that we had Linda Williams already configured in here, Linda Davis rather. And if we take a look at Linda, then we will see that she is already provisioned with entitlements under the BeyondTrust SCIM application, and you can see that she's entitled to a couple of groups already. And if we look down here in the entitlements per application, you can see that she is part of BT Linux admins. If we were to dive deeper into this, we could take a look at this group and we could see who else is in that group. We could see what the object properties are, how many members there are, and we could see who else is part of that group. We can also look at this from the standpoint of provisioning access. So in addition to pulling over this information, being able to do reporting campaigns, doing audit campaigns, determining what the actual entitlements are, we can also provision user access. And in this case, I'm going to select some users that we have already. Let's find a good user. Let's take Brandon. And let's find some access that we may want to provision inside of Beyond Insight. And let's add Brandon to the local Linux admins access group inside of Password Safe. We'll go ahead and submit that for approval. And we'll have to give a little bit more information. Brandon already has an Active Directory account that is part of the Identity Cube. We could also provision Brandon as a local user in Password Safe. I'm going to go ahead and create a linkage with the Active Directory user. So let's go take a look at the results in Password Safe. We'll go back to role-based access. We'll take a look at that local Linux group, and we should see Brandon added there. And if we simply trigger a refresh, then we will see that Brandon is in fact listed there. This is Brandon with his Active Directory persona. And in fact, if we bring up another profile, we can log in as Brandon. We should be able to pull up a resource and actually request access to it. So let's log in as Brandon and see what access he now has access to. We'll log into the password safe console. This time we're going to do it as Brandon. We're going to take a look at what resources that Brandon has access to. I know that there's at least one domain linked account that's in there. And we can see that, yes, in fact, he does have access on siri.sailpointdemo.com as the help desk account. We're going to go ahead and request that. We'll open an RDP session. And what we should see is the launch. This is where we were requesting from password safe. We're making this request as Brandon through the access policy, checking that we have approvals, that we meet all the criteria for where we're coming from, what time it is, what date it is, whether we have access to RDP or not, and whether we have access to this resource. Once we do, it'll initiate that connection to password safe as the proxy. Password safe will then retrieve those stored credentials for the help desk account from the encrypted database, and it will create that second session to the target system, which is AD resource. And now we're logged in. We didn't have direct access to that. We are not seeing the credentials. It is being connected for us through a proxied session. It is being recorded. It can be watched and viewed live by an administrator. And we have been granted access by provisioning that through Sailpoint Identity IQ. And this is how, when somebody leaves, moves, or joins a domain, that they can be added or they can be deprovisioned as necessary through Sailpoint and still have access through all of their PAM resources in password safe. Hope you enjoyed this demo. If you have any questions, please contact us. Thank you.